This is BMW's first attempt and last attempt of a American-style cruiser motorcycle. What the heck were they thinking? Cue the intro. You know, it's always funny when another company or another country says we're gonna make an American-style vehicle or American-style thing, and then they come, you know, the Germans come up with something like this. Is this what they think our bikes look like? Or maybe this is what they think our bikes should look like. So what really made this bike popular, and what kind of blew everything up, is James Bond rode this bike. And what James Bond proved riding this bike is not only can you have a girl on the back, but you can have that same girl on the front facing you while you're drifting into a corner. If that doesn't show enough about how awesome the bike is, I'm not sure what else is gonna, convert you. Now, I don't recall BMW ever making a motorcycle that had more chrome than this bike did. It's 1170cc twin boxer engine, putting out about 60 horsepower and 70 foot-pounds of torque, which is not that bad considering it weighs 540 pounds. This one has the bags, and this specific model is called the Phoenix, which they didn't make for very long, and this is actually a pretty rare bike. So with its one very unique feature of the single-sided swing arm shaft drive and the monoshock in there, but also what really sets the bike off and people really notice it for is its telelever front end. How this thing absorbs shocks in a completely different and unique way. This bike was made with such care. I love the little subtleties about how you have the BMW logo right down here. It's all nice and hidden, all nice and clean. So the reason these bikes are so sought after, so, collectors and motorcycle enthusiasts combined, they love these bikes. And the reason is because they're unusual, they're rare, they look just out of this world. They've been in movies, the bikes are famous, and they are an awesome ride. It's a one of a kind ride, very unique. Let me take you for a ride, let's show you. Alright guys, before we do the test drive, let's do the words of wisdom real quick. Proverbs 21. There we go. The plans of the diligent lead surely to advantage, but everyone who is hasty comes surely to poverty. Think about that one. Alright guys, I am really excited about driving this bike. This is my first time driving this bike. I had another one a couple years ago, but it was not this nice. This one's really, with a bike like this, the last thing you want to see is like major modifications to it. It's not a bike you modify. I love that purr of that R motor. I'm going to show you the coolest feature about this bike. And this bike does have ABS. I don't know whether there's two ABS lights flashing. Maybe because it's got front and rear. That would make sense. This bike only has 4,003 miles on it. And I just love the way it feels on the road. The shifting's great, but check this out. Let's talk about comfort, right? Watch this. No. It might look at this. It's got these cages. This is aftermarket, I think. It's got these cages that fit around the cylinder heads, and I could recline. I can straight up lazy boy on this bike. Let's say you're cruising on a big trip. That's the position you want. Now, if I had a backrest, world's most comfortable bike, honestly. Now, is it the fastest bike? No, but it's got enough. It's got enough that there's no reason to complain. But it's very quirky and unique and unusual. But it's, so when you look at it, you're like, wow, that thing's wild looking. But then when you just drive it, you're like, man, this thing is cool. It's extremely planted on the road. It's a very clean design, but very BMW. It's not symmetrical. It's very asymmetrical, and we've seen that with BMW all the time. Case in point, the front end of the S1000RR. That was kind of a big deal. It's like light, other light. They understand it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be in the middle. You don't need a two of everything, and Heated grips, just like Harley Davidson. It's got turn signals on both sides, which I don't know how to, there we go. So to cancel them, I think this is a little over engineering over here. But you got turn signals on both sides, and then another button to cancel both turn signals. I'm not sure if that's the best way to utilize your buttons, but now these mirrors are not aimed properly. But when you do, visibility is really good. I can be like, normally you see like 90% of what's in the mirror is your shoulder. Right now I'm seeing nothing. Although because of the R motor, and I've said this before, R motors get a little buzzy at the higher speeds. That's not that bad actually. Those mirrors are not vibrating really at all. The last one we sold to a collector. The guy had like 60 motorcycles. Really, really cool collection. Really, really cool guy. I would not be surprised if he gives me a call about this bike. Because he got the black and white one, and another cream and white one. The one that was, the same color that was used in the James Bond film. This is the Phoenix out of the ashes. Not sure why they call it the Phoenix, but that's what they call it. So we're gonna jump on the highway, try to do a 0 to 60 run, see what this, see how much this windscreen really does. I'm not expecting too much out of it, but you never know. It's a really good all-around bike, but you know, I like that it's got the solo seat. It's a great like me time bike. You know, I'm just gonna go have some time by myself. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go cruise around the back roads, stop at some country market, grab a homemade root beer, and then go live some of that James Bond lifestyle where you're shooting bad guys and stuff like that. You know, James Bond stuff. Now I believe they made this bike for about 6 years. I don't know how many of them are. I'm not sure how many Phoenixes exist. I do know this. I've bought and sold a lot of bikes. I've seen a lot of bikes. I've been around a lot of bikes. I've only ever seen maybe 1 or 2 of these in my life, and they were not the Phoenix. Interesting story about the name, the Phoenix. My wife wanted to name my daughter Phoenix, and I was like, I like that it's unusual, but that sounds like the name of a starship. And my daughter ain't no starship. She also ain't no motorcycle. Plenty of passing power to keep up with the speed of traffic. Now when you're accelerating, when you're actually in the throttle and in the process of going to a higher speed, the mirrors are very buzzy and they vibrate a lot, which is, you know, that's what you would expect. But when you slow down and you know, laid off the throttle, you can see great. There we go. Kick my feet up. And these things are not going to get hot. There's too much wind hitting it. So if you think, all right, here's the scenario. You're looking at impressing some girl, and first you got to impress her dad. This bike could do that. You roll up on some like flat black hand-painted GSXR 600, you're not impressing nobody. You roll up on a classic. Is this a classic? This could almost be a classic. You're up on a classic BMW bike with some history, with some story behind it, with some depth, also that no one else has. And you say, I want I want to ask your daughter out. That might work. That might just work. It's crazy enough to work. Alright guys, that wraps up the video of the BMW R1200C, the extremely rare BMW R1200C. This bike is for sale on Srkcycles.com, along with a bunch of other bikes. We will see you guys later. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where you're going.